Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannath Puri ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulasi Devi ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, taking over the world with Srila Prabhupada's translated book distribution key. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhutara Srimad Bhakti Vikas Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, text number 19. Saham Hi Eshaham, it is. Atma, the Super Soul. Atmavatam, of the self-realized souls. Adhishvaraham, the Supreme Lord. Traimayaham, personified Vedas. Dharma, sorry, why am I doing word for, sorry. Dharmamayaha, tapaha, mayaha, gatam, vyalikaihi, ajam, shankaram, adibhihi, vitarkyam, lingaha, bhagavan, prasidatam. Sa esha atmavata, sorry. Sa esha atma, sa esha atma, sa esha atmatmavatam adhishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayas tapomayaha. Gatavyalikair ajashankaradhibhir. Vitarkyalingo Bhagavan Prasidatam. Sa esha atmatavam, sorry, sa esha atmatmavatam adhishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayas-tapomayaha. Gatavyalikair ajashankaradhibhir. Vitarkyalingo Bhagavan Prasidatam. Sa esha atmatmavatam adhishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayas-tapomayaha. Gatavyalikair ajashankaradhibhir. Vitarkyalingo Bhagavan Prasidatam. Please repeat. I want to move this a little bit this way. Yeah. Oh, sorry. See that. Okay, that's good. Sa esha atma vatatamati Traimayo dharmamayastapomayaha. Gatavyalikair ajashankaradhibhir. Vitarkyalingo Bhagavan Prasidatam. Sa esha atmat vatadamadishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayo tapomayaha. Gatavyalikair. Gatavyalikair ajashankaradhibhir. Vitarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam. Sa esha atma vatatam adishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayastapo mayaha. Katavyalikai Rajashankaradhibir. Vitarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam. Sa esha atma vatatam adishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayastapo mayaha. Katavyalikai Rajashankaradhibir. Vitarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam. Mataji. Esha atmatmatamadishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayastapo mayaha. Vyalikaya. Gatha Vyalikaya Rajashankaradhibir. Vitarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam. Sa esha atmatmatamadishvaras. Traimayo dharmamayastapo mayaha. Gatha Vyalikaya Rajashankaradhibir. Tarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam. Saha he eshaha it is. Atma the super soul. Atmavatam of the self-realized soul. Adhishvaraham the supreme Lord. Traimayaham personified Vedas. Dharmamayaham personified religion. Sorry, scriptures. Tapamayaham personified austerity. Gata Vyalikaihi by those who are above all pretensions. Aja Brahmaji. Shankara Adibihi by Lord Shiva and others. Vitarkya Lingai Lingaham one who is absorbed with awe and veneration. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Prasidatam, be kind to me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He is the Super Soul and the Supreme Lord of all self-realized souls. He is a personification of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He is worshipped by Lord Brahma and and Shiva and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may the Supreme Absolute Truth be pleased with me. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, although the Lord of all followers of different paths of self-realization, is knowable only by those who are above all pretensions. Everyone is searching for eternal peace or eternal life. And with an aim to this destination, everyone is either studying the Vedic scriptures or other religious scriptures, or undergoing severe austerity as empiric philosophers, as mystic yogis, or as unalloyed devotees, etc. But the Supreme Lord is realized only by the devotees because they are above all pretensions. Those who are on the path of self-realization are generally classified as karmis, jnanis, yogis, or devotees of the Lord. The karmis, who are very much attracted by the fruitive activities of the Vedic rituals, are called bhukti kami, or those who desire material enjoyment. The jnanis, who try to become one with the Supreme by mental speculation, are called mukti kami, or those who desire liberation from material existence. The mystic yogis who practice different types of austerities for attainment of 8 kinds of material perfection and who ultimately meet the super soul Paramatma in trance are called Siddhikami, or those who desire the perfection of becoming finer than the finest, becoming heavier than the heaviest, getting everything desired, having control over everyone, creating everything liked, etc. All these are powerful are abilities of a powerful yogi. But the devotees of the Lord do not want anything like that for self-satisfaction. They only want to serve the Lord because the Lord is great, and as living entities, they are eternally subordinate parts and parcels of the Lord. This perfect realization of the self by the devotee helps him to become desireless, to desire nothing for his personal self. And thus, the devotees are called Nishkami, without any desire. A living entity, by his constitutional position, cannot be void of all desires. The Bhuktikami, Muktikami, and Siddhikami all desire something for personal satisfaction. But the Nishkami devotees of the Lord desire everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. They are completely dependent on the orders of the Lord and are always ready to discharge their duty for the satisfaction of the Lord. In the beginning, Arjuna placed himself as one of those who desire self satisfaction, for he desired not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. But to make him desire less, the Lord preached the Bhagavad Gita, in which the ways of Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and also Bhakti Yoga were explained. Because Arjuna was without any pretension, he changed his decision and satisfied the Lord by agreeing to fight. Karishye Vachanam Tava. And thus he became desireless. The examples of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are specifically cited because Brahmaji, Lord Shiva, Srimati Lakshmiji, and the four Kumaras, Shanaka, Sanatana, etc., are leaders of the four desireless Vaishnava Sampradayas. They are all freed from all pretensions. Sri Jiva Goswami interprets the word Gata Vyali Kaihi as Projita Kaitavaihi. Or, wow, it's amazing. Dharma of Projita, anyway. Or those who are freed from all pretensions, the unalloyed devotees only. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's also said, Krishna Bhakta Nishkamataiva Shanta Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. Those who are after fruitive results for their pious activities, those who desire salvation and identifying with the Supreme, and those who desire material perfections of mystic power are all restless because they want something for themselves. The devotee is completely peaceful because he has no demand for himself and is always ready to serve the desire of the Lord. The conclusion therefore is that the Lord is for everyone because no one can achieve the result of his respective desires without his sanction. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8.9, all such results are rewarded by him only. For the Lord is Adhishvara, the original controller of everyone. Namely, the Vedantists, the great Karma Kandiyas, the religious leaders, the great performers of austerity, and all who are striving for spiritual advancement. But ultimately, he is realized by the pretensionless devotees only. Therefore, special stress is given to the devotional service of the Lord by Srila Shukadev Goswami. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakanvatamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamanati Namine Nija Guru Harivanya Krishna Chitto Vichinto Parihita Pitrige Hadyanda Sangsara Kupaha Prabhu Bhajana Sakabdo Majjayan Somsa Vishwo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamanati Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Vagishayasya Vadane Lakshmi Yasya Chivakshasi Yasyase Hridaye Samvit Tamrasim Hamaham Bhaje. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham Kaiti Vachalam Pangum Langaiti Girim. Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, over here in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is being referred to as Traimayaha. We can see over here. And how does Prabhupada, okay. So Traimayaha, he's the Adishvara of the Traimayaha, personified Vedas, Dharmamaya, personified religious scriptures, and Tapamayaha, personified austerity. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is being addressed as the Lord and Master of everyone and everything. That's why in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Ekali Ishvara Krishna Arasabhritya, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everyone else is simply the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, who says this verse? Does anyone know? Who says this verse? Ekali Ishvara Krishna Arasabhritya? No. No. Krishna Arasabhritya. Yeah. It does come in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's right. So this comes, what do you say? Good job, Isaac. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, yes. So the person who says it is actually Lord Balaram. So he says this when the Kauravas they refuse to have Duryodhana's daughter be married to one of the Yadus. Her name is Lakshmana. They refuse to have her get married to one of the Yadus, and they start to say, oh, what are you, the Yadavas, you guys are just like able to rule because we look the other way. Actually, you just because we are letting you, we are actually the real emperors of the world. And because we look the other way, are allowed to have like the yak tails and all this fanned at you. But what really are the Yadus compared to the Kurus? We are so much more powerful than you, etc., etc. So then, Balaram gets really fried out. And what does he do? He takes out his plowshare and he's ready to drag the entire city of Hastinapura to go and drown it in that river. In Yamuna, no, Ganga, sorry, in the Ganga. He's ready, and then there's that famous picture of Lord Balaram dragging the city, into the river. So he does that, and then he gets angry. Like, he says that, you're saying all this about the Yadus and all this. I guess we can understand you guys are puffed up this way and that way. But how dare you say that about Krishna? Krishna is the Yadu Nandana. He's the head of the Yadu dynasty. How dare you say that the Yadus and Krishna being one of the Yadu is subordinate to you? And he starts to laugh. Balaram starts to laugh, but not like, haha, it's a funny joke, but he laughs out of anger. Lord Balaram laughs out of anger, and he threatens to start dragging the entire city of Hastinapura towards the Ganga and flooding it. And then he says, Ekaleshvara Krishna Arsa Bhritya. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Taicha Nritya. I'm forgetting the other two words in that verse. But, however, Krishna is Supreme Personality. Nache? Yeah. Nachai. Anyway, I could speculate the Bengali, but I don't want to do that. He says this, that Krishna is the one Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his will, everyone and everything dances according to his will. Sorry. By his will, everyone and everything dance. So, Ekaleshvara Krishna Arsa Bhritya. The Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everyone and everything are completely subordinate to Krishna. That's why, we see that so many people that try to attain perfection, either on the material sphere or on the platform of liberation, etc., etc. But because they try to do this, they are never really happy. Why? Because they're not peaceful. Why are they not peaceful? What is the peace formula according to the Bhagavad Gita? According to the Bhagavad Gita, the peace formula is Bhoktaram Chakitapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richiti. That this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, text number 29, where we understand that, when a person, if he really wants to become peaceful, if he wants to really become desireless, the formula or the thing that a person has to understand is Krishna is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Everything that is performed, all sacrifices that are performed, are meant for the satisfaction of Krishna. Bhoktaram Jagat Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Krishna is a proprietor of everything. Krishna is completely in control. Krishna is a proprietor of everything. And Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. He is the friend of everyone. And you see, it's very important to understand that Krishna is all these three things, because if he was two out of these three things, then it wouldn't really like work out so much in our favor. If a person is your friend and he owns everything, but he's not the controller or the enjoyer, then what's the use? If a person is the controller and the enjoyer, and he's your friend, but he doesn't own anything, what can he do for you, really? But then if a person owns everything and is the enjoyer of everything, and he's not your friend, then you're really in a soup. You're really in a sticky situation. So Krishna is all these three. He's your best friend. He owns everything, and he's a controller of everything, and he enjoys everything. So because Krishna is all these three things, a person who takes complete and total shelter of Krishna can actually become peaceful. They can actually be freed from this burning fire of lust in the heart. They can be freed from this burning desire to, go and try to enjoy this material world, I don't know this old Mataji's name, the older Mataji who comes. She's white, she has glasses. She's just been coming recently. She gave a bottle of honey yesterday. What's her name? She's so sweet. I gave her a garland too yesterday. I wanted to ask her name, I forgot. But yeah, she's so sweet, that Mataji. She heard one of the previous classes that I gave, and that class I was speaking about how, I was in New York and I went and asked a vendor for honey, and he was like, I don't want to give honey, and he got all and I said, you're so miserable, what's the use? You want to enjoy your fruits, but you're so miserable trying to enjoy your fruits, So then she heard the class, and then when she saw me, she came running with a huge jar of honey, right, Mitraman? There was a big jar of honey. She said, yeah, I know, the shopkeeper didn't give it to you, but here's some honey, that's awesome. I got that. I wanted to get that honey to actually offer it to, Jayaveta Maharaj's deities, Krishna Balaram, and Lord Balaram is very much fond of honey, So I wanted to give, for that, but she got it, and we can offer it to Krishna Balaram here, It's amazing. Krishna fulfills a desire sometimes after many years, but he does, he does. Krishna did it, after many years. I recall this incident, and Krishna sent someone to fulfill that desire. So she came, and by doing that, I could just see you make a lot of advancement when you sacrifice your fruits for Krishna. You sacrifice your fruits for Krishna. She saw that, she didn't, and definitely she's getting the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how would she be so inspired to do such a thing? But she did it. She's older. She's older Mataji. But she did it. It's so nice. Why? And by doing so, a person actually attains peace. Why? Because has anyone ever done something in their life where they kind of try to hide something from the authorities? It could be a small thing, not doing your homework and trying to escape the teacher's punishment, or it could be a bigger thing, you stole something from the shop and you put it in your pocket and you walked out and you were hoping no one catches you. Or it could be a bigger thing, you're a big drug dealer, or you have you're a big pot dealer, you're the kingpin of this, or even you're just a guy on the street and you're escaping from the authorities. There's a lot of anxiety, right? There's a lot of anxiety. Okay? Yes, at least theoretically, some of the saints can understand this, If we can understand that when we do something like this, there's a lot of anxiety which is going on. Or even if you're not selling pot, even if you had pot and you're not supposed to be smoking pot in that state, that also gives so much anxiety, right? Say yes. Yes, it does. It does give a lot of anxiety. Why does it give us a lot of anxiety? Why? You're not supposed to be doing it. So similarly, everyone who is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of God is a thief. Because they're trying to take something which does not belong to them. It belongs to Krishna. It's meant for Krishna's enjoyment. They're trying to take something which does not belong to them and trying to enjoy it for themselves. They're trying to enjoy it Therefore, they're always in anxiety. Therefore, they do not have peace. How can you be peaceful if you are consciously or subconsciously stealing someone else's property and enjoying it separately from them without getting their sanction? A simple philosophical point to understand, but that's the crux of our whole material existence, actually. It's very simple, right? It makes sense. It's not your phone. It's not your credit card. You're taking someone else's credit card and you're swiping it and buying all these things. It may feel good in the moment, not movement, but in the moment, or at that time when you're doing it, may feel good, or it may feel good when you're enjoying it. But after some time, you're going to feel guilty. Like, I mean, we hope you feel guilty. But if you're going to feel guilty that, hey, this is someone else's card, this is someone else's money. I'm not supposed to be spending it, but you spend it anyway. There's that guilt is there. It's very horrible. It's a horrible feeling. So because of that, there is anxiety. And not only is there anxiety, there's sinful, there's reactions also, right? Like, there's reactions. Okay, all right, you escape once, you escape twice, you escape 3-4 times. But then after a certain point of time, you're going to get caught. And when you get caught, then what happens? They just let you go? No. There's some punishment that's there. There's some punishment that a person actually experiences. So because a person experiences a punishment, they can understand, because this is what I did, that is why I'm suffering right now. So similarly, when a person steals Krishna's property, does not perform yajna, does not perform sacrifice, and tries to enjoy whatever he stole from Krishna's property for himself, without giving recognition for Krishna, without thanking Krishna for this benediction and for this boon of being able to honor this, or like in his case, enjoy it, then naturally there will be sinful reactions. Not only is there anxiety, but there's also sinful reactions. And because this karma kanda and the jnana kanda, etc., are not paths where we're performing direct devotional service to Krishna, there is going to be some kind of imperfection in that activity, which cannot be overlooked. It cannot be overlooked. Who was a very extremely pious king, an extremely pious king in the heavenly planets, and he was known to be very charitable, but he got himself in a very sticky situation. Who is that? No. That's right, King Nriga. Nriga, not the other word, Nriga, N-R-I. King Nriga. He got himself into a lot of trouble. For doing what? He did everything right. He donated so many, 100,000 cows to one Brahmana. And then he donated another 100,000 cows to another Brahmana. And then what happens is the first Brahmana that he had donated all these cows to, one of those cows had escaped and joined back the other. Is it called a herd of cows? It's called a herd of cows. Okay. It joined the other, another herd of cows, and it was donated twice. And, then, King Nriga didn't know anything about it. He had no intention to cheat the Brahmana or do anything like that. He's a very pious person, very amazing, very fantastic, But, unfortunately, these Brahmanas, they found that this cow actually belonged to the other one, and they started to bicker over it, and they went to King Nriga, and they're like, what is this? You're such a nonsense. And he was like, I'm really sorry, my dear Brahmanas, and he fell at their feet, and like, please forgive me. I did this by accident. I didn't know. In order to like redeem myself, I will offer each of you another 100,000 cows for the sake of this cows, for the sake of this cow. Please let it go. And they wouldn't let it go. And they cursed the guy. They cursed him. And what happened to him? He became a snake. A lizard, yeah, he became a lizard. Why? Because karma, there it is. Our book order is here. Okay. So, he became a lizard. Why did he become? Chandan is taking care of it. Chandan, you see the book order, right? Yeah, that's the greatest ecstasy of all time. So, he becomes a lizard. Why did he become a lizard? Why? Although he's performing all these amazing pious activities, why did he become a lizard? Why? Because he's not performing devotional service. He's not performing devotional service. He got a reaction. He's offering charity to people who are completely renounced. He's sense-controlled. You have to be. You have to be. If you're such a great king and you're known for being pious and generous, you have to be. You have to be selfless, right? So many people are extremely selfless in this world. It may seem like that at least. They selflessly go to Africa and teach the kids English so the kids can learn English and read this garbage literature and become a garbage person just like them. They go to all these other poor countries where people do not have much employment, and they create an employment by like destroying the environment there and creating some industry which is completely useless and increase the ugra karmic activities. It may seem like so selfless. Oh, I'm giving everything I got for this. But because they are not a devotee of Krishna, they have no good qualities. Yasyasi bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarvai gunai sata samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahat gunan. That these people do not have any good qualities because they are non-devotees. Because they are non-devotees, they have no good qualities. And because they have no good qualities, because they're non-devotees, they have no good qualities. And the reason they're non-devotees is because they are envious of Krishna. It's very simple to understand. Because they're envious of Krishna, they are unable to actually be completely selfless and therefore not be free of anxiety and not be free of desire. They're just like that. They can't give it up. They just can't give it up because they are envious of Krishna. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Idam tate guhyatamam pravakshyami suyave jnana vijnana sahitam yagyatva moksha sheshubhat. In this verse, a very important word that we can look at here is this, where we see Krishna is telling Arjuna, Pravaksham anusuyave. What does anusuyave mean? Because, my dear Arjuna, you are non-envious. To the non-envious, he says, the Supreme Personality of God has said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So this, by definition, is completely required to perform devotional service, is to be non-envious. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam Parama Samhitam, right? Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for, Paramahamsa Samhitam is meant for people who are Paramahamsas. What is this? Nirmat Sarana, Vedyam Vasam. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmad Yasya Yaton Yavad Itaratas Shatesh Vabhikya Swarat, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yasurayaha, Tejo Vari Mridam Vinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha, Damna Svena Sadana Restakuhukam Satyam Param Dimai. Sorry, it's not that verse. The next verse. Dharma of Projita Kaita Votra Paramo, Nirmat Saranam Satam. We see this over here. That Dharma of Projita Kaita Votra Paramo, Nirmat Saranam Satam. That the Bhagavatam is meant for those who are Nirmatsara. Where is this? Okay, Nirmatsaranam. You see? Is meant for people who are Nirmatsara. Why is it meant for people who are Nirmatsara? Of the 100% pure in the heart. They have no envy. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in the heart. Literally, the very definition of fully pure in the heart means one should be free of envy. That is the only way that a person can be free of envy. The person, if a person really wants to take up a devotional service, then the one thing that definitely must be done is that enviousness should be removed from the heart. The enviousness must be removed from the heart. And in order to be free of envy, what is required? A person needs to learn to be humble. Otherwise, you see, all these muktikamis, siddhikamis, bhuktikamis, they're ultimately envious of Krishna. And because they're envious of Krishna, they will suffer in this world. They are suffering in this world. They do not experience peace at all. They do not experience peace at all. They do not. Why? Because they're envious of Krishna. They're constantly envious of Krishna. Everything they do, everything they say, all these things are simply, they're being pretentious. They're being pretentious. They're pretending to be someone they are not. They're pretending to be someone they're not. So many people are there. They pretend to be like, oh, I'm so selfless. I'm so great. I'm like this. I'm like that. I'm like this. I'm like that. But ultimately, they are full of hypocrisy. And because of hypocrisy, people cannot be freed of envy. They cannot be freed of envy. And when one does not have faith, and one does not have one is not free of envy, there is no question of actually genuinely having faith in the pure process of Krishna consciousness. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ashadda dhanav purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. This is very important to understand. Ashadda dhanav purusha. He says this, that those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me. O conqueror of the enemies, therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Very important to understand. Those who do not have faith in the pure process of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, yes, we may be fallen. Most of us are. We're fallen. We're fallen, yes. We may have so many propensities to do things which are not favorable to our devotional service. Certainly, yes. The Krishna consciousness movement is a hospital where people come to get cure of the disease of the heart. And what's the disease of the heart? The disease of the heart is envy. Disease of the heart is envy. Disease of the heart is lust. Lust won't arise if we are not envious, but because we are envious of Krishna, envious of Krishna so much, then all these other diseases arise, like lust, anger, greed, etc. Because we are envious of Krishna. And because we are envious of Krishna, even when we come into Krishna consciousness, still, we are envious of the principles of pure devotional service. And that's our problem. That's our hridroga. That we are envious of the principles of pure devotional service. If a person is envious of the principles of pure devotional service, then there is no question of people making advancement in Krishna consciousness. It just stops at a particular time. That's it. Great. You come to the platform of chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regs, you may even be initiated. Great. But if we still are envious of the principles of pure devotional service, then no matter what we do, no matter this, that, or the other thing, we will be stuck in this muck of the material existence. We'll be stuck. At least theoretically, we should understand that, yes, I have these attachments, and someone who points out these attachments is actually my friend. That's actually a friend. That's actually a sadhu. That's a person who really loves you. He loves you so much that he's very clearly pointing out, he's pinpointing, Prabhu, this is what's messing you up. If you give this up, Prabhu, you will become a pure devotee of Krishna, and I can serve the dust of your lotus feet better. They go out of their way. They go out of their way. I'm just reading in the Prabhupada Leela Amrita how much Prabhupada struggled to actually get the Juhu temple. It was a huge struggle. Prabhupada went through so much. Prabhupada went through so much. And I'm only reading out in the Prabhupada Leela Amrita, and reading that in the Prabhupada Leela Amrita really aroused in me the desire to read Giriraj Maharaj's book, I'll Build You a Temple. Because it seems like there was a lot which happened there, And Prabhupada, he underwent so much difficulties. And, people were telling him, Prabhupada, you already have so many 100 temples with the exception of the Juhu temple. Just give it up. Why do you care? Okay, the Juhu temple, forget it. Okay, so what if the people of Bombay, they don't want to hear about Krishna consciousness. They're envious of you. Leave them, let them go to hell. Who cares, Prabhupada? You have so many temples in so many other places. Oh, these municipality people are giving you a hard time. All these people, why care, Prabhupada? Why do you want to undergo so many difficulties and austerities? Give it up, Just go and build a temple somewhere else, build it in Delhi, here, there. Why do you want, just forget this one Bombay you forget. You just forget this one Bombay thing. But Prabhupada was so determined. The tenacity that Prabhupada said, I want this land. I want this Juhu thing. Because if I get it, I know I can change the lives of so many people. I can change. Prabhu, I'm sorry, could you please get the Leela Amrita on my table? I'm sorry, I should have gotten it. Prabhupada, he was so determined to get it. He was so determined to get it that all his disciples gave it up. So the Mr. N, that's what they call him in there, but his name is Nair. Mr. Nair. Big time rascal. Tried to cheat the devotees so many times. Send gundas and rowdies to harass the devotees. And then in one place, Prabhupada said that, he was praying that, Krishna should get rid of this Mr. Nair. Should get rid of this Mr. Nair. And then Prabhupada saw his thigh shaking. His thigh shivering, He saw his thigh shivering, and then, he thought, okay, it's happening, and then, thank you. And then, he got a heart attack, and then when he died, Prabhupada quoted this verse, that even a sadhu is pleased when a snake or a scorpion is killed. He was pleased, and then it didn't get over there. Then Mrs. Nair, who was another kind of not such a nice person, initially at least, she, after her husband passed away, what she did was while the devotees had already bought the land, Prabhupada had already installed Shri Shri Radha Rasa Vihari. He had already installed the deities on the land. The Bhumi Puja already had happened. They had erected like they had constructed some kind of shed over which the deities were being taken care of. So what this Mataji does is she sends in the middle of when the devotees were worshipping, she sends like a whole bunch of demolition party, a whole demolition crew who start to break up the temple while the devotees are worshipping. They start to break up the whole temple. And the police also come, and the devotees are like stopping them and protecting the deities and all this. And the police were taking out the men and doing all this. And then only the women were left, and these rascals were holding the Matajis by the hair and dragging them away. And then one Mataji, she was like protecting the deities like no matter what, and they grabbed her hair and dragged her away too. And then luckily, one of the devotees, they called up one of the friends, Mr. Sethi and Mr. So many other, like three, four of them were like in it to win it for sure, Prabhupada, and so many of them, they had called them up, and then finally they came, and like there was this whole Hindu movement, and how dare you go and break up the Hindu temple even when you did not get permission, and the municipality and all this, and the same unfavorable thing because of the determination that Prabhupada had instilled within the devotees. Because of that determination, what happened is after that incident, it was all over the newspaper and all this, and the entire public opinion changed. And just like how there were some gundas, like they in during the Navadvip Dham Parikrama, there were gundas that were hired by the Jat Gosais, by the caste Goswamis, to go and try to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his entire party by throwing stones at him. They decided, they thought that, we should kill this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and we should get rid of all his followers. So they arranged this whole group of gundas to go and throw stones at him. So what happened was, there was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. I know you know. But if anyone else, who is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj? How is he really important in our lives? No one knows? Yes, that's right. He gave sannyas to Srila Prabhupada. He was Prabhupada's sannyas guru. Very important. Who else received sannyas along with Prabhupada? Anyone remember? No. Come on. Who was the other god brother who received sannyas from Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj along with Srila Prabhupada? Oh, well, I would have been really impressed if you knew this one. Anyone know? Bhakti Vedanta Muni Maharaj, Muni Maharaj. So they call him Swami Maharaj and they call him Muni Maharaj, So Muni Maharaj. And then he was 90 years old or something, and he told Prabhupada, I'll take if you take. So they said, okay, both of us will take. And they went and they took sannyas. So Bhakti Pragyan Keshav, that's awesome. Prabhuji, you want to become a sannyasi? I'll take if you do. Anyways, they both took sannyas, So Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he looked very similar to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So what he did was he swapped his clothes along with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was wearing white. I think he was even a grihastha at that time. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wore a white dhoti, all this, and he just escaped in another route while the whole procession went on. And the gundas threw stones at them, and they risked their life for their spiritual master. Just like Prabhupada said, risked their life for their spiritual master. And what happened? The entire public opinion went against the Jat Gosais. The entire public opinion went against them. Same thing with Srila Prabhupada too. The entire public opinion went against them, against this, and then all the municipalities were still the municipality was it was a Friday, and then they this Mrs. Nair went to the municipality office and was trying to get a permission that they cannot build the temple. So then because she submitted the thing on Friday, and the officer and the devotees were also going and talking to the municipality people, they said, okay, anyway, we won't decide on this until Monday. So what happened was this amazing devotee of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't initiate him, but this devotee had so much love. You should look at his memories, in Mr. Sethi, his memories of Srila Prabhupada. He's like, I really love my Gurudev so much, and he starts to cry, and he did so much service for Srila Prabhupada. So he came, he said, I will build this whole temple that they demolished. I will build this temple, and they can't do anything about it. So he hired two. He hired two groups of workers who worked morning and night, and they were there. They were there the whole time. And then the rain was come, and it was raining heavily. And he said, "Let it come. Let Lord Indra send as many torrents of rain as possible. With redoubled determination and enthusiasm, I will build this temple for my Guru Maharaj." So he says that, and then the rain was coming, and it was pouring so heavily, but they were still working day and night. They were working day and night in order to build this temple. And then what happened was these news came out. Oh, I'm really struggling with this. This is such an austerity. I just clipped my nails too because I'm a Brahmana, right? I got it. I was like, how many? Okay, you want to try it? You got nails? Okay, you know what? Just get it. Oh, wow, you got it. Thank you. Now I know. I got to put it here. Okay, so, thank you for that. So, so Mr. Sethi, so then news came that, hey, like, we're going to hire gundas. We're going to hire gundas, and they're going to come and try to kill you or completely injure you. So you better give this up. Don't do this anymore. Then he said, if you're sending the gundas, if you're sending like hooligans, you're sending like gangsters or rowdies, please make sure you send 200 of them, because it's me and my son, and we both have guns, and we have 100 bullets in our guns. So send them. Send them, and I will shoot all those 200 rascals down. Send them, bro. Whoever was, like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? Send them. We'll shoot them down. We'll shoot all. Send them. They didn't send. They didn't send. They realized not to. And then they did it. They built the temple. The impossible was done, and they're like, okay, and then they continue fighting the case. And then one of other Prabhupada's supporters called Mr. Asnani, he had called up Prabhupada when he was in London, and he said, we need you to come here in order to completely settle the matter with the Juhu land. And then, Prabhupada, comes, and there's like this delay because he wanted to meet Mrs. Nair, this and that, and this and that, and this and that. And then once she came to meet Prabhupada at 9 o'clock, Mrs. Nair, Asnani, while Prabhupada was about to like give a class. So Prabhupada excused himself from the class, went and spoke with her, and again went back and finished the class. 12 a.m. at night. 12 a.m. She's still waiting for Srila Prabhupada. And the minute she sees Prabhupada, she just completely breaks down and starts to cry. She falls at Prabhupada's lotus feet and sobbing, saying, I'm sorry for everything I've done. Let's just like sign this thing over. And they signed it over, and she did it. And and after the whole thing was done, you know what Prabhupada said? It was a good fight. It was a good fight. Prabhupada said it was a good fight. And Satsvarup Maharaj, writes something so amazing here. I was just thinking of reading this. So over here, it says that Srila Prabhupada, okay. There you go. Okay. So after that was over, after they finally had won over the land, the Prabhupada was standing. Now let us start, he said to the feast. As he supervised the serving, the devotees had prepared several courses. I read this out to Kalki, and I think you both of you heard it too. You know what feast the devotees prepared? The devotees prepared rice, dal, many varieties of pakoras such as potato, cauliflower, and eggplant, potato sabji, wet cauliflower sabji, papas, burfis, laddus, chum, a milk sweet, vermicelli kheer, halwa, and a lime drink. It was a festive and happy occasion. After the late feast, when everyone had departed, Prabhupada returned to his room, leaning back on his desk. There's a picture of Prabhupada like that, leaning back on his desk. He exclaimed, it was a good fight, And then later, Prabhupada, now listen to this. Later, Prabhupada will cite the story of the fight for the Bombay land as evidence that a person in Krishna consciousness has no problems. See, extremely directly related to this purport. Person in Krishna is desire, because why does he have no problems? He has no desire other than the desires of Krishna. Has no problems. Surely, the land was full of potential. Sorry, a devotee has no problem. Yeah. Now we have spent in Bombay 18 to 20 lakhs of rupees. He said months later while on a tour in Europe. This property is actually worth 50 lakhs. People are surprised and some of them are envious. Reading about envious people. But if you come, you will find that it's a very, very fine place. It is just like a paradise garden, 20,000 square yards, and we have got 6 buildings. So actually, when we come to Krishna consciousness, there are no problems, Prabhupada says. Then, this is Sasru Maharaj, this is so beautiful what Maharaj writes. Surely the land was full of potential, but how could he say there had been no problems? No problems meant that Srila Prabhupada saw how Krishna personally arranged things for his devotees. When he had needed money, check this out, Vishnu, this is really like, we had to hear this one. When he had needed money, it had come in an amount that ordinarily would have been impossible to collect. Right? And the formidable opposition Krishna had removed. Prabhupada had no organized means of income and a little political influence to fight persons like Mr. and Mrs. N. But because he was surrendered to Krishna, there was no problem. All the problems of the world were created by non-devotees. Right? This is literally this purport. It's amazing. All the problems of this world were created by non-devotees who defied the injunctions of the Supreme. Anyone who is in Bhakti Yoga, Prabhupada said, he can understand that all problems are solved. We can practically see, Prabhupada said. And now listen to this. And yet, he had to tolerate the problems created by non-devotees. For almost 2 years, he had struggled to secure land for Krishna service. Whether in Bombay or elsewhere, he had to worry over how to help his inexperienced disciples who were ill-equipped to handle ploys of the opposing party. It had been an ordeal, a test of patience, and a challenge of courage. But because he had not been bewildered by Maya illusion, there had been no problem. In this regard, we can see Prabhupada's sense of humor is so transcendently amazing. Some of his Western disciples in India, they would get ripped off like anything. When you go to India, and if you're a Westerner and they realize that you're a Westerner, you're going to get ripped off like anything, So Prabhupada would call some of his disciples, especially one of his disciples, he would call him damn cheap Babu. Damn cheap Babu, So damn cheap means, oh, it's so cheap. And Babu means like, a Bengali Babu is like, like a wealthy gentleman who has all this money. So Prabhupada would call some of his Western disciples in India who were trying to do all this damn cheap Babu, because they would think, wow, this price that this guy is offering is damn cheap. Damn cheap. You would think, wow, auto from here to there, 500 rupees, damn cheap. And they would spend 500 rupees where you have to spend 50 rupees, and they would think they're getting a great deal. So Prabhupada would call some of this damn cheap Babu, they damn cheap Babus, they think they're getting such a good deal, it's so damn cheap, but they're getting ripped off like anything. So Maharaj goes on to write, Prabhupada showed by his example, this is so amazing, Sasrup Maharaj is the way he intersperses these things are really amazing. Prabhupada showed by his example that if one strictly follows Bhakti Yoga, one is not touched by the modes of material nature, by Maya. The same transcendental science he constantly taught in his lectures and informal discussions, he also personally demonstrated. And, okay, I'll just read this too. He was faithful in Krishna consciousness, and all his problems had been adjusted. Do you want me to put it up on the screen? Or yes? Okay. I guess I'll just find this. It's so amazing. Oh my God. Okay. I'll increase the font size too. Okay, so he was faithful in Krishna consciousness and all his problems had been adjusted. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that if one surrenders to him, one easily overcomes all problems. You see? That's what this purpose is about. The devotee understands that the problems of Maya can be overcome by surrendering to Krishna, by surrendering to the orders of Krishna's representative, the spiritual master. Now that the land was ISKCON's, Prabhupada could proceed to enact his vision. In attempting to construct buildings and propagate Krishna consciousness, he would meet more Maya-created problems, no doubt, but the greatest struggle had been won. The gorgeous temple of Sri Sri Radha Rasa Vihari would manifest. In the future, devotees and guests could come to India's gateway and stay in a first-class hotel at the Hare Krishna land and conveniently imbibe the spiritual atmosphere of the temple. Right? Has anyone been to Juhu here? Vishnu Chitra Prabhu and Prabhu Mataji. You know, I heard it's an awesome temple, right? It's really awesome, right? It's like in a great location, and it's so, back then it was like a jungle, you know. Literally, it was like a jungle. Really, it was like no. All the disciples like, Prabhupada, why here? Let's get it in downtown Bombay or something like that. Why here, Prabhupada? Prabhupada had the vision. The Kalagya, he knows. Prabhupada knows better than we can ever imagine. Prabhupada knows, you know. So Prabhupada's vision completely became fruitful. If he hadn't fought for the land, would we have such an influence in Bombay? I highly doubt it. And the devotees, as long, and this is very important, and the devotees, as long as they did not forget Prabhupada's example and instruction, could successfully utilize the facility in the spirit of service to Krishna. The price Prabhupada had paid in tolerance and dependence on Krishna would never go in vain. When Srila Prabhupada what Srila Prabhupada produced by his tolerance was not only the facilities and the ongoing mission of Hare Krishna land, but a monumental living example of the behavior of a sadhu. This is so poetic, my God, you know. It is so amazing the way Maharaj has like molded this, you know. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapiladev describes describes the sadhu. Titikshava karunika suhrida sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushanaha. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Now, this is so amazing what Maharaj writes here. Because the sadhu is tolerant, titikshavaha, he is undisturbed by the difficulties imposed by material nature. In Prabhupada's attempt, so with every word, you know, he relates it to how this incident of Srila Prabhupada, you know, Titikshava. So, you know, in Prabhupada's attempt to secure the Juhu property, he had met with enemies and difficulties, and he had been tolerant. Prabhupada sometimes said, you have to tolerate. You have to tolerate. And a sadhu is not only tolerant, but merciful. Now, this is really important. When ISKCON's provisional temple had been attacked by the police, Prabhupada could have considered it a signal to leave the place and give up trying to help such ingrates by bringing them Krishna consciousness. Why go to such botheration? What's the use of trying? He had already nearly 100 temples outside of India. If the people of Bombay didn't like Krishna consciousness, then why not go away and leave them to their fate? But no. As a genuine sadhu, Prabhupada was merciful. Because he had come to deliver the compassionate message of Krishna consciousness, he had to tolerantly give that message to everyone. People were misguided and were living like animals only for sense gratification, and by the laws of karma, they would suffer in their next life. Seeing this unhappy predicament, Prabhupada had felt moved to help these fallen souls, even if they were unappreciative. Srimad Bhagavatam also describes a sadhu as Sukhrida Sarvadehinam. The only desire in his heart is the welfare of all others. Being unbounded by nationalism, he thinks of himself not as an Indian or American or even as a human being, but as the eternal spiritual soul meant to benefit all living entities. And this is the last one. A sadhu, Srimad Bhagavatam describes, is Ajata Shatru because he never creates enemies. Although envious persons may declare themselves a sadhu's enemy, a sadhu behaves as the best friend of everyone, trying to bring everyone to Krishna. Because Prabhupada was trying to spread Krishna consciousness, envious persons would continue to oppose him. But as he sublimely showed in Bombay, what can be done? We have to tolerate. Thus, even before any foundations were laid for the building, Prabhupada had fully demonstrated the ornaments of the sadhu, remaining peaceful, shanta, and dependent on Krishna, and he became victorious. And for whoever serves such a great personality, Srimad Bhagavatam states, the door to liberation is open. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. That the door to liberation is wide open. So these bhukti kamis, siddhi kamis, mukti kamis, what's the use? What are they going to get? Sakalaya shanta. They by nature are going to be restless. They're not going to have any peace. But a person who is non-envious of the principles of pure devotional service and accepts these principles as they are, as given by the acharyas, they will have so much benefit. So many times it's hard for us to hear things which we don't want to hear. It's really hard. It's hard, like someone comes and tells us things which we hate to hear. They're pointing out our very attachments which are holding us back in Krishna consciousness. And it's hard, I experience it a lot. I get really blessed by my authority here, because I'm a rascal, And I hated it initially, but later on as we drink, I was thinking, Syat Krishnama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopatapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintva Darad Anudinam Kalusaiva Chushtad Swadvi Kramad Bhavati Tadgata Mula Hantri. That long press. Okay. That when we have jaundice, the only a cure for jaundice is to eat sugar candy. And when a person has jaundice, the sugar candy tastes bitter. But as the person continues to take sugar candy as that being the only medicine, then the jaundice of avidya goes away, and then they can actually taste the nectar of the holy names of Krishna. So similarly, if a person is so sweet and so kind to tell us our faults, and is not a flatterer, a sadhu is not a flatterer, he tells us our faults, straight up in our face. We may not like, I wish he did it like this, I wish he did it like that. But be grateful that he's at least telling you this. Otherwise, someone will come and cheat you and say, you are very good, Prabhuji. You are actually a Paramahamsa, pure devotee. Within a matter of a few months, you can actually initiate people now. We want the sadhu to tell us this, but the sadhu won't tell us this. He'll tell us what we don't need to hear, what we don't like to hear but need to hear. He'll tell us these things, Why? Because that's for our ultimate benefit. Because by hearing this, our anarthas will go away. Anartha pasamam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshaje lokasya janato vidvam shakre satvata samhita. That we need to learn to give up our anarthas by performing devotional service, which is bona fide, which is in proper line. When someone is coming out of their way and telling you something, and they're not envious of you, you know that. Like, what do they have to be envious of you for? Are you some big acharya? Are you some great soul? Are you completely excelling in some activity or something? No. How many of us are excelling in some activity? No one. What are we? Compared to Prabhupada, what are we? What are we really? What are we? Nothing. Nothing. So many book distributors have come and gone. So many cooks have come and gone. So many kirtaniyas have come and gone. There's so many people on a much higher level. Oh my God, so many people. So if you know that the person is not envious of you, and they're coming and telling you something for your benefit, take that as Krishna's special blessing. And the last thing that we want is for the representatives of the spiritual master and the spiritual master to give up on us. Once they give up on us, it's you and your mind, buddy. It's you and your mind. And then what happens? Gone. Finished. Seen so many people. They hated authority. They hated being told what to do. What are they doing now? They're sleeping with another devotee's wife. I know them personally. Personally, I know them. Even if they're falling asleep, you tell them, Prabhuji, you're sleeping. I'm not sleeping, but you're drooling. What do you mean you're not sleeping? You're sleeping. But I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping, And they would get so egotistical. Don't come and tell me anything. And then they would go and get permission from an authority saying, please make sure that such and such a person never tells me anything. And the people who took the chastisement, they have lasted. The people who didn't take did not last. Did not last. What's even worse, they make a facade of practicing Krishna consciousness when in reality, they're just complete cheaters and rascals. I know these persons personally. I know them. I joined in an ashram where there were 11 or 12, actually there were 13 people. Only two of us are still brahmacharis, and only 3 of us are not practicing sinful life. All of the other ones who hated being chastised we had one authority who was really really heavy for no reason. But he was really heavy. And we took it and it was good for us. 3 of us who took it, at least we're not not breaking the 4 regs. At least we're not breaking the foot. At least we're chanting 16 rounds. But most of the other ones, they're completely smoking pot. Can you imagine someone in an ashram living with you right now? I mean, obviously, not anyone here, but, like in the past, people now are smoking pot, are having illicit sex, are gone back to being complete karmis. Why? Because they hated being told what to do. Hate it, just hate it, completely hate it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? One of them I know is threatening to commit suicide. Why? All these things. Why? For the simple thing that a person is telling you something which agitates you, give it up. It's not worth it. I'm preaching mainly to myself here. And, if it's applicable for anyone else, it may be. But, there's a very important point. Just give it up. It's no big deal. It's really no big deal. There's so much benefit, And to do this, we have to become a little humble, And like one of my favorite quotes from Mahabharata, I even have it as a screen as my what's it called, desktop? No, screensaver, wallpaper. I even have it as my wallpaper. Vidura, I'm sorry, it's not the desktop. Come on, Vidura, who's Duryodhana's uncle. He tells him things which he doesn't want to hear, and he tells him this one thing. So please listen to this. O great King Duryodhana, drink that which is drunk by the honest and shunned by the dishonest. Okay? Drink that which is drunk by the honest and shunned, given away by the dishonest. What is that thing? Humility. And what is humility? Humility is a bitter, pungent, burning, unintoxicating, and revolting medicine. Think about it. Listen. It is bitter. Bitter. Pungent. Not only is it bitter and pungent, it causes a burning sensation. And at least, okay, if something is bitter and pungent and causes a burning sensation, at least if you drink it, you hope to get drunk and get you get drunk, drink vodka. I mean, alcohol is bitter, is pungent, and it causes burning, right? I unfortunately had the bad fortune of, pouring that into my mouth. It is bitter and it's pungent and it's burning, right? But what's the price? At least it's intoxicating. But humility is bitter, pungent, burning, and it's unintoxicating. It sobers us up. And it's revolting medicine. I hate to take it. Have you ever been so sick that your mom gives you a medicine and you immediately spit it out? Yeah. Humility is bitter, pungent, burning, unintoxicating, and a revolting medicine. Mahotsaha Das, Krishna life really needs to hear this. But drink it deeply and regain your sobriety. Drink it deeply. If we drink this, if we drink what's being told to us by people who really, really have no reason to be envious of us, who have no reason to hate us, but only care for our benefit, if we drink that deeply, we will actually regain our sobriety. Otherwise, we'll be like the Bhuktikami, Muktikami, or the Siddhikami. You'll be like this, completely, you'll be so mental and disturbed in your mind. And what will happen naturally, your mind will drag you to sex life. I've seen this with my own personal life, So, and then of course another thing also, when when we have our seniors or the spiritual master, of course, but even the seniors who are senior and are guiding us or whatever, chastise or admonish us, then Yudhishthira Maharaj says this amazing thing. If inferiors do not tolerate their superiors' admonishments, what does admonishment mean? Like chastisement, right? Right? Admonishment. So if inferiors do not tolerate their superiors' admonishment, then sin will take root in the heart and destroy mankind. Sin will take root. Sin will take root like anything, Like this guy, Jackie was telling us yesterday that he's a school bus driver, and he's saying how disrespectful these kids are. How they're so disrespectful to him. So disrespectful. They cause so much nonsense and all these things. And, because of being disrespectful to someone who you not need to be disrespectful towards, sin will take root. And what's even worse, when you do it to devotees, when you just hate listening to the truth that they're telling you, and it's not like they're nasty rascals all the time. If we hate it so much if we hate it, then what happens is all this pent up feelings turns into envy and turns into an offensive attitude towards the devotees. And then what happens? Either you go find another group of envious people who are completely slackened in Krishna consciousness, who do not want to follow Krishna consciousness properly, and go down the same route that they're going down, which is obviously not good. For example, I know personally where there's like a whole lot of these people, and I call it the poison pit in America. There's a poison pit in America where all these envious people are all together and they, promote all this nonsense and all this bogus stuff. I personally know these people. I knew them how they were before. They were with me. I know them how they were before, and I know how they are now. I know how they are now. Why are they like this? Why? Why are one of them is going and saving someone else's wife? Why? Because of this reason. Because they hated this, and then what happens is they consider everything else right, but what the right thing is wrong. They consider what is wrong to be right and what is right to be wrong. This is simply a symptom of the mode of ignorance. So we should be grateful. Should be grateful. Should be happy. See what Prabhupada went through. See. Even his own God brothers were envious of him. Prabhupada says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's no secret and all these things. But Prabhupada went on. So, we just have to understand this, when someone is telling us something which is true and we don't like to hear, take it as a love letter from Krishna. Krishna is personally telling you this. Something because we don't have to go out today on books and devotees are getting some time. I took a little more time, but we can open it up for questions and comments now. And if it goes past 9, is that okay? At least until 9:05, is that fine? Okay, awesome. Any questions or comments, please? Okay. Ranshul Prabhu, do you have anything? Okay. Yeah. Vishnu Prabhu, can you give it to him? I know. It looks like it's about to go down, yeah.
Oh, so should we end then?
It's not a lot, yeah.
No, but is it going to rain?
Anyway, it's already wrapped up. We can finish it quick, no problem.
Okay. So in this verse, so I have two questions. In this verse, Shukadev Goswami, where is it? Yeah. So he says that in the verse itself, it's used on veneration. What's the yeah. So that
Vitarkya lingaha. That's the Sanskrit for it.
Right.
Vitarkya lingo Bhagavan prasidatam.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So there it said, being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute be pleased with me. Vitarkya linga Bhagavan prasidatam. So I was wondering if we connect this with the fact that Shukadev Goswami is the parrot of Srimati Radharani, and that animals in Vrindavan are in Shanta Rasa. Can this verse be taken as an exhibition of Shukadev Goswami exhibiting that quality of Shanta, meaning awe and veneration, but still he is a Vrindavan Vasi. He's a Vrindavan Vasi. He all the Vrajavasis, they understand the mood.
Tinged with Madhurya.
Yeah, they're tinged with Madhurya, but at the same time, could this be taken?
I don't see anything philosophically off with it, and I don't think it's it can totally be taken. Yes, Shukadev Goswami is speaking on this verse in a mood of in being the bird of Srimati Radharani. That's a good point. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because he says, "With awe and veneration, be pleased with me," meaning that he's almost like choosing awe and veneration for the Supreme Lord to be pleased with him. So it was almost like a selection I felt over there.
Yeah.
Okay, that was one question. Second question I had was, so you mentioned about this in the incident of you receiving the bottle of honey and how sacrifice brings advancement. So why is it then that we encourage people to buy books, right? And they purchase books from us, they give donations, or donors, they give donations, but then after some time it seems like the same donor, maybe if you were to approach them again, or if you even with people who purchase books or devotees also, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they've given donations in the past, they have sacrificed their life in the past, but then sometimes they seem to become resentful of that very practice, and they almost feel like you're doing it too much or whatever. How do you explain that? Because if they make advancement, could
Yeah.
it be said that, well, they're supposed to become more and more favorable to this rather than becoming unfavorable, but sometimes they seem to become more unfavorable than they were in the past?
Yeah, the thing is also that it's a constant process, It's a constant process. And, yes, you give a donation. But the thing is, people may even understand, oh, I have to give a donation. It's the right thing for me to do. But if they do not give up the envy, if they're not, if they still hold their envious of the principles of pure devotional service, that's a that's a constant choice that a person has to make. And it takes time. You can give one donation, you can give more, you can give more, a little bit at a time, that's fine. But as long as we do not understand, that's why it's so important for them to understand Siddhanta. Those who understand Siddhanta, how can they have a problem with book distribution? Like I've had some people tell me, I can't believe your devotees tell me, can't believe you're wasting your life distributing Prabhupada's books. I thought, are you out of your mind? Are you serious? But like they think like that, because they were book distributors, and they say we've evolved past book distribution. Can you imagine someone said, don't even want to say whose disciple that is. It's a very, anyway, Prabhupada disciple told me that they have evolved past book distribution. How can they say this? How can they say this? And they call those who are distributing books Kali Chelas. How can they say? Because they stop practicing. The medicine works if you keep taking it. Yes, he's taking sugar candy. Yes, jaundice, great. He's taking it. But at a certain time, forget it. I don't want to take sugar candy anymore. I don't want to take it anymore. So that it comes back, they have a relapse, right? They have a relapse, and there's things like that happen. So that's the thing. The medicine needs to constantly be taken. It's like any Ayurvedic medicine. It's not like you take a pill and it fixes you forever. It's a constant thing. Then you wean off of it, and then you're gone. You're completely done. Same thing. It's not like very rarely can people go completely cold turkey on their material desires and dive into pure Krishna consciousness. There have been people who do that, but it's not so common. That's why it needs to be sustained. That's why, therefore, culture is required. Without the culture of Krishna consciousness, without Daiva Varnashram Dharma, impossible. Because this is what happens. How is it that a devotee on a Radha Damodar bus party with Tamal Krishna Maharaj distributing books is calling the book distributors Kali Chelas and is, saying that they've all passed book distribution while he's ordering, what was it? Pizza Hut or Domino's? What was it? Pizza Hut. While he's ordering Pizza Hut pizza on his phone, and we're looking at him eating karmic grains. How did this become that? How did it happen? Because they stopped taking the medicine. And you don't stop taking the medicine overnight usually. Like you have to justify yourself. So it's a fructification of associating with people who are envious of Krishna. It's a fructification of associating with people who are envious of Krishna, which brings one to such a situation. Like little by little by little. Oh, it's going to start raining? Drizzle is fine, if it's just. Oh. Okay. I'm of the opinion we should just move it and then take prasadam. That's okay. So if we can one or two more minutes, is that okay? Yeah.
I was just curious, like, at what point? I'm not asking from my point of view, because obviously, but, anyways, like, when do you start to like get in the like? Can you give chastisement? Like you consider everyone, you're so fallen, this and that. So, at what point?
You have to be authorized. Get a stamp of approval, Prabhu.
Yeah.
But first, you have to also practice what you preach, and it needs to make sense. You have to practice what you preach. It's a very simple thing, and you don't just say, okay, yesterday I wasn't envious, so I guess I can go and tell. But you see, there's a difference of age, the difference of seniority. Person is at least so much older than you. When practicing Krishna consciousness, clearly the spiritual master, he loves this person, or he gives him so much responsibility. He's kept them in charge. So, why can't you take it like that, And then, like, and even if you want to tell, tell nicely, tell sweetly, if you have to, especially if they're your equal or something like that, That's a simple way of saying. But yeah, bottom line, you have to be authorized with the spiritual master also. Okay, is that okay? Anything else? Yes, Mitravan. Oh yeah, let's give one to them. Mitra we can take during prasadam. So we can.
I don't know if you gave an example, but can you give
Could you please talk into the mic?
Yeah. Can you give us an example of what you mean by like being envious of the principles of pure devotional service?
Okay, an example of being envious of the principles of pure devotional service. So it's obvious that a person should, when they're singing, they should be meditating more mainly upon Krishna, and they should be not so into like the music aspect of it, and everyone understands that. But then if a person goes and tells them, hey, you're too conscious of the music and not conscious of Krishna, then they get angry at that person and they don't want to take that person's advice and they think they don't have that problem and everything they're doing is completely fine when it's in reality it's not. Like another thing. Okay, anyone who reads Prabhupada's books will certainly come to a conclusion, anyone who hears Prabhupada's lectures, anything like that, will certainly come to a conclusion that the book distribution is the most important activity. I'm not saying it, Prabhupada is saying it. And those who give their life to book distribution or supporting book distribution activity get special mercy from Krishna. It's obvious. Prabhupada's written it in so many places, But they say things like this, oh, this is bogus, book distribution is bogus, you're simply wasting time, simply gives us a bad image in front of the public, etc., etc. So that's another example. Is that okay? Awesome. All right, so it's time to move these books of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada stands for the book distribution ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha